You know, the FBI director was fielding these questions and actually answering some of them, which was fantastic. And while there was some representatives that wanted answers to what happened on July 13th, there was others that were trying to push through agendas. And today, we're going to talk about one of those agendas and just how ironic it all is. And I don't even think that he realized it. We're also going to talk about how JFK ties into this Trump shooting. It's going to be a good one, and of course I want to hear your opinion after the video. Let me know what you think. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. Let's go and get into it. Now, the representative we're talking about is Eric Swalwell, who is no friend of anybody really that likes firearms and the Second Amendment.
I've never suggested sending troops out.
I'm going to quote an old friend of mine called
confiscating.
Eric Swalwell. He's a congressman from California on the Intel Committee. Can you get back in the screen, please? I'm just going to quote once again. And we should buy back those weapons, and I'm quoting, criminally prosecute any who refuse to, choose to defy it by keeping their weapons.
I mean, he's went as far as saying that we need to confiscate guns from Americans, not even realize really what he's saying, because it sounds like a good idea and it may get him some votes from people that like him. But at the end of the day, that's something that I don't think even he could get behind, because if you start going to Americans' doors saying, hey, we're taking back your guns, it would not be a great day or a great subsequent weeks if you start doing that. So I'll just go ahead and throw that out there. I don't even think he believes that's a good idea, but it's something he's willing to say. So instead of inquiring more about July 13th and trying to figure out, what actually happened there, he uses his time for gun control. Okay, so here's the question he poses to Christopher Wray.
You know the difference between an AR and a bolt-action rifle? Had the shooter used a bolt-action rifle, would that have been one trigger pull, one round?
That's my understanding.
And would there had to have been more, well, on an assault rifle, trigger pull, round, bolt-action, non-assault rifle, what's the difference? Is it faster, slower?
So he says if he had a bolt-action rifle, would he be able to take less shots than if he was using a semi-automatic rifle? Well, the answer is clearly yes. A semi-automatic rifle, one trigger pull, one bullet, reset the trigger, action happens, you take another shot. With the bolt-action rifle, of course, you actually have to work that bolt, right? And so after a shot with a bolt-action rifle, you are going to throw the bolt up, you're going to work the action back, and then you're going to bring it all the way back to the rear, push it forward, chamber a new round, and lock the bolt back into place. Then you have lever action rifles, right? You take a shot, you work the lever. That lever is going to do a couple things. Of course, it's going to move the hammer back to the rear. It is going to extract that casing from that bullet you just shot, and then it's going to allow it to chamber a new round and, of course, reset the trigger and all of that. Naturally, a semi-automatic rifle, an AR style or any semi-automatic rifle, is going to be a little bit quicker, but they always tend to go after the AR. Not considering an FAL that I have right here behind me, or an M1A, or any of the numerous other rifles out there that are semi-auto that actually take a box magazine. They all are semi-automatic. Now, the reason they choose the AR is because it's scary looking and because it has all these features like collapsible stock. That's something that was brought out in the FBI hearings, that the Trump rally shooter, he had a collapsible stock on his gun, which allowed him to, basically sneak the gun in where nobody saw it. Keep in mind, this is a standard AR. And so this collapsible stock, you can see how tall it is right here. If I collapse it all the way in, that's how tall it is now. It's still pretty hard to sneak around, Even if we take this magazine out, by the way, it is a 20 round mag. It has a limiter because of YouTube. Even if we take that out, it's still pretty hard to kind of sneak around there. Now, it does have a red dot on the top of it, okay? Very similar to what the shooter was using, not the exact model or anything like that, but this is basically what they said he could sneak around because of that collapsible stock. Now, my opinion is he actually hid that thing in advance of this rally, because we know that he was flying his drone. He had it in the sky for 11 minutes, and that was like 2 hours prior to the rally starting. That's my opinion, that he already had this thing hidden. And of course, we know the breakdown of communication. We know that there was nobody out there that was, keeping an eye on the place, making sure that people weren't scoping it out, like this shooter obviously was. Now, of course, the FBI director said, hey, yeah, of course, these guns are going to be a little bit slower if he were to have a bolt-action rifle. Well, you can work a bolt-action rifle very quickly. Now, besides the fact that bolt actions can be worked very quickly, I'm going to demonstrate on this lever action right here, which is a gun they would never talk about, and I think it's pretty obvious why, because it doesn't look nearly as scary as something like an AR. So if I'm just working this gun, right, let's pretend I have a red dot up here. I don't, obviously, but if I'm working this gun, let's pretend that I take a shot. Now, of course, I would have to account for recoil and all of that kind of stuff and, getting your sights back on target. But you can see that with just a little bit of practice of working that lever, you can get very quick at doing that. A modern lever action is going to be about the same thing. You can practice with these guns no matter what it is, from revolver to pistol to AR style semi-auto rifle, all the way down to what you think is less dangerous in a lever action or a bolt action rifle. And the point is, all firearms are inherently dangerous. It's just like the question to Secret Service, hey, does having firearms make your job harder? Well, of course, any weapon is going to technically make it harder, but since the creation of the Secret Service, they've always known that Americans have firearms. That's just something they will always account for, just like knives, baseball bats, and anything else that can be used as a weapon. But it makes you wonder why, statistically, when these AR-style rifles and all rifles are so low on the totem pole, they continuously go after them, when handguns, knives, fists, all of that far exceeds anything used with a rifle. And that's because of the appearance. You can make something that looks scary, and you can influence people way more with something like that than you can a handgun or a knife or a baseball bat or fist or feet or anything else that's used to incapacitate somebody. And so if they can get one, then because we know that won't have any effect because they're used so little in crimes, then they will start going down the rabbit hole and say, oh, well, sorry guys, that didn't work. Now we got to go for those semi-auto pistols. But hey, once we get those, then I think we'll be good to go. And then it'll be revolvers, and then single shots, and then anything else, all the way down to your muskets. And then eventually, that's the way they want to. That's the way they want to have it. But firearms are a cornerstone in us preserving freedom in this country. And remember that even if they were to ban the AR today, you still have tens and tens and tens of millions of these guns that are already out there. And guess what? Most of them, most of the time, are protecting somebody's family, sitting idly by. Unless somebody harms that person, they will never use them to harm anybody else, because we already know that because of how low and statistically low all rifles are used every single year. Good luck with that, Eric Swalwell. You just wasted more time when you could have actually gotten us answers. Now, of course, the shooter was looking up the JFK assassination as well, and so how does that tie into all of this? Well, when you think about the JFK assassination, Lee Harvey Oswald used an Italian Carcano to kill JFK. You may be thinking, oh my God, an Italian Carcano, I don't know what that is, but it's probably a semi-auto gun. Oh, actually it's not. It is a bolt-action rifle. So the same one that Representative Swalwell was saying, hey, if people had these, would they be able to get off as many shots? And while the answer to that is, yeah, it would be a little bit slower, they are still equally as dangerous, because all guns are designed to be just that. But in the hands of people that are good, that's where they should stay, and that's where they will remain and stay, because we just refuse to give an inch on this, because again, there's way more of us that have our guns for self-defense. We have them for competition. We have them for hunting. People have their own reasons, but at its cornerstone, we have them to preserve freedoms in this country. So no matter if you agree or disagree with that statement, just understand that a big part and big reason for us being able to preserve the liberties that we still have in this country is because there are so many firearm owners. So hey, maybe that'll change your opinion, maybe not. If not, maybe you should talk to a firearm owner that you know. Maybe somebody, just have a conversation with them and ask them why they love firearms. And you may hear something similar to what I'm telling you right here. But remember, somebody comes to break into your home, it puts you in a bad position. If you're not a concealed carrier, and if you don't have a firearm, if you are a woman, if you are a man, if you have 2 or 3 attackers, whatever, it is the great equalizer that every American has a right to. Every law-abiding American has a right to. So sometimes they're used for things like July 13th and the Trump rally shooting. Most of the time, they are not. So again, love to hear your opinion of this entire thing down below. Let me know what you think. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. See you in the next one. And as always, hold 'em down.